Silicon Valley play in a public-private partnership with the State Department to further those ends for those countries?
You know, one of the things that we have definitely seen, as I go back to my theme about the era of engagement in this administration, Secretary Clinton has, of course, traveled extensively throughout Latin America. And in the speeches that she has continued to make, she has encouraged all of us in our particular areas to be as aggressive in the work that we're doing. So on the I can only speak from, say, from the subnational perspective of what we're doing. And in particular, so we'll take the country of Brazil. We have been working with our ambassador there as American leaders and organizations and helping or wanting to be of help to the country in their preparation for the games, for the Olympics and the World Cup. And towards that end, we have seen governor and mayors from Brazil come to the United States to work with their peers who have hosted very successful games here in the U.S. We understand what it's going to take, just as we understood what it took for Atlanta or Utah or Los Angeles to host games here in the United States. It's very, very transformative for a city, state, a region when you get that many international visitors. And in the preparation for that, all that needs to take place that leads up towards that. So I address that from an economic perspective, and also from the perspective that we know that they are any country, any city, any state that hosts those international meetings have a lot of challenges, but there are also bigger opportunities. And so through that opportunities, a lot of innovative ideas, a lot of innovative technologies, and entrepreneurs and executives are going to be all around those types of efforts. And so we totally support that. We work very closely with the councils, the U.S.-Brazil Council. We work very closely with our Latin America Council in the hemisphere. We are getting ready to work with our Organization of American States ambassador, who's getting ready to work on the Summit of the Americas, because America is going to be participating in that, of course, President Obama. And so we are assisting our ambassador as she moves around the United States, talking to diaspora communities, talking to state and local officials as to their support of that and getting their ideas. In a place like Rio, next year they're going to be the host of the Rio Plus 20, which is the large sustainability conference by the UN. We're going to be working in support of that. So we're very targeted and specific as the areas that we work. We don't turn down anyone if they come to us and want us to assist them, and that's why we work with organizations like the cities and the counties and the mayors and the governors and the legislators, because they too travel in these regions all the time. And they have diaspora communities that are in all nationalities that are of interest to them. And so we will work with those leaders in those regions to assist them with their U.S. counterparts.
Oh, wonderful. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
I understand you have a law background, and I have a technology law background as well. I wanted to have a few comments on what are we doing in the integration of legal system in India and US, and what are the opportunities for people who are outside to volunteer and help you guys in integrating the two legal systems and to get rid of a lot of complications.
I'm not really familiar with that, but what I will tell you that when I was in India and I met with some of the educational institutions, they are very interested in learning from our U.S., their U.S. Counterpart educational institutions. And so I think when we saw the U.S.-India Education Summit, a lot of issues of what you're discussing, what you're mentioning came up. And out of that summit that took place a few short weeks ago, I think there's going to be some work that our educational institutions are going to be working with their Indian counterparts on, and it's kind of a stay tuned.
Your Mr. Sewal that you met, the education minister, he's one of the most prolific lawyers out of India. And so, but I think, yeah, that's really a longer term issue. Do you have any more questions? Oh, yeah, there you go.
Very simple question. We have visited 3 countries, especially India and China. I have a question. I'm Ritu from Rediff.com, India Abroad newspaper. Which country you find more challenging, India or China, when you take your trade deliveries?
I don't put it in the definition of challenging. I put it in the definition of dynamic.
There you go.
I have visited numerous countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And so it doesn't matter to me whether I'm in New Zealand, doesn't matter to me whether I'm in Singapore or Thailand or down in the Dominican Republic or wherever. There's a very dynamic a world out there, and the talented individuals that we have met at the state and local level. These leaders are hungry to work across borders. They want to reach and work with their counterparts in the United States. They need the private sector to work with them in the work that they do. They want to support efforts around small and medium-sized enterprises. They want to support efforts around entrepreneurship. They want to support efforts around women empowerment. They want to support efforts around business communities coming and working together, and education communities and non-governmental organizations coming and working together. There's a lot of dynamic activity that's going on at that state and local level. And as we have traveled throughout the world, what we have seen in our work with our bureau, work with our embassy, work with our consulate, that there is a welcoming of America. And they're saying it's not enough. They want to see more. And so they're very delighted that Secretary Clinton has given us the mission to be out there working with state and local leaders and trying to help be a facilitator and a catalyst on the work that they do. And so if I have one ask before I leave, or I always got a couple of asks, I'm a diplomat. If I have an ask before I leave, is that in the world in which I live in, every single day, working with chief ministers and party secretaries and governors and mayors and legislators, it is the fact that it is important that we do not have a dynamic effort right now, but is that we are paving the way to have a dynamic effort in the future, and that it can only get better and much more dynamic. And the only way, or one of the biggest ways that this is going to continue to live on, is that we seek your counsel, we seek your support in assisting us into developing a tool, developing a platform of how these officials can continue to engage with each other long after the visit is over. Not allow the visit to be the one and only thing, or the photo op, or the newspaper story to be the one and only thing, but what's going to happen the next day. And it's not, we know that grassroots efforts have taken place all the time. We understand that in these sister cities, sister states, sister ports, sister airport, whatever you want to call them, relationships, now around the world, these are driven from the top down. It matters a great deal to these countries of having that memorandum of understanding with the state of California or the state of Massachusetts or the state of Maryland or state of, it doesn't matter, or the city or the port. It matters a great deal. We have been, in our outreach efforts, very aggressive with our U.S. officials in letting them know that we are there from the Department of State and our consulates and our embassies to assist them in helping to serve their global needs. It assists us in the president's agenda about as he wants to double exports in the next 5 years. He talks about that, and the Secretary talks about that all the time. In doing that, there are major initiatives in our embassies. When our governors and mayors and others travel, they talk about those issues all the time because that's why they take the business community to them. When we talk about making, moving from 3,000 students in India to doubling, tripling, and moving that aggressively to the thousands that should be U.S. students going to India. We need to work constantly with our educational institutions, and we're there to do that. And so the big ask for us is that in the work that we do going forward, I've had a chance to and see the reality that so many talented members in this room have built very successful companies, have great vision, and now you're in a posture, so many of you are in that posture of wanting to give back. And not just to India, but to countries around the world. And we need your talent, we need your efforts. And we're going to be coming back. We have met with a number of organizations and companies and executives who have talked to us and given us some great ideas. We welcome those. We know that, as I said, that to be able to be linked together, that's what they need. And so we know that you all know the tools, or you're creating the tools. And we want to say that we're welcome to find out what they are and to be able to put them into practice as we continue to strengthen and broaden our bilateral relationships with all of these nations that we're dealing with.
Very well said. Thank you. We're going to take a last question from another woman also. We're going to end with a question from a woman, okay? So please go ahead. You got a mic?
My name is Linda Bilal, and I guess my question, you focus so much on your talk on asking people to think about tools to build these platforms and continue over time. Could you explain perhaps why the current tools aren't adequate? And if you could design a system, what would it consist of that you think doesn't exist for Skype, email, Twitter, and so on?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, why don't you summarize it? Thank you.
Okay, could you, just re-ask the question, please. I think your mic is working. We have a time check. We need to be,
So very quickly, my question was, what's your ideal state for tools that don't exist in the market today? I mean, why is email and Twitter and Skype not enough right now? What else would you like?
No, well, first of all, I would be remiss if I tried to answer that really question to a bunch of technologists. However, those tools are out there. We need them adapted to this particular mechanism. We need them adapted in a private manner in how these people can link up and tie up. We have talked to a number of companies that have those tools that currently exist that you mentioned. We want to talk about how we build on their platform for these peers to talk together. One of the things, when a governor is talking to a governor, he or she talks in a language that only they understand because they're grappling with the same issues, challenges, and they're looking for a solution. But they want to talk to each other. They don't want to be lectured to by anybody from the United States. They don't want anybody trying to tell them what to do. But when their peers talk to them, that's another dynamic conversation. We need to understand that the existing things that are out there are the ones that are being developed, and we have been told about a number of them and ones that are also existing that can be put in some type of framework that these officials can talk to each other, and we want to model them. We want to find some specific models that currently exist and that can be adapted to working with peers to be able to engage together. And then we want to be able to launch that so that it can be much more dynamic. So it's not that we're saying they're not out there, it's what can be adapted that can be used specifically for these types of individuals, and not just the ones that are traveling, but so many more that can't travel. America has some of the best technology, best innovative ideas, best people, best education system. I mean, I'm like, it's the best.
Yes.
But we're not the only one. We say we're the leader, and if we're going to maintain that leadership, We've got to continue to find a way for people to be engaged. And so, you know, we all have the things that we use on a day-to-day basis. But when I go and travel and the mayor in New Zealand says, I want to talk to, you know, X, these 5 people, he wants to talk to those 5 people. He didn't say he wanted to talk to those 20 others. He wants to talk to those 5. And if we can facilitate that, and then they can get into a private situation where they're discussing privately, confidentially, not just amongst themselves, but their teams, that's where we all know the real work gets done. But the leader has to set that tone. And so, you know, when I meet with speakers, I meet with legislators, attorney generals, you name it, we know that the tools exist, and you all have them, or you're creating them. And we want to be able to seek your counsel as to how we adapt that, and we want to launch something. I will tell you the same thing, and then we'll end, that I've said to my party secretaries and governors and mayors and chief ministers. I've been to their country, and I will be back. And I have been back. I'm out here in Silicon Valley. I will be back. And we have to be back in short order. We don't have time to waste. The world is moving rapidly. I don't have to tell you. Relationships are developing every single day, all day long, and while we sit here. If we're going to continue to encourage these group of actors to be leaders and to get to know each other and to build on mutual respect and understanding and develop long and lasting relationships, we want to be in a posture that we can come to the dynamic people in this room to say, help us do that. And we know that you can from all of the conversations that I've had with so many of you, and we really appreciate having the opportunity to be here. And one last thing I would say is that we, in the work that I have been charged to do and that I have been doing with my colleagues at the department, these group of actors, working with all of you in a public-private partnership manner, always can be another phase in assisting us in strengthening and broadening our bilateral relationships with the different countries of which we work in. And so we thank you and we welcome your participation. And as they say, I will be back. Thank you.
You really must enjoy your job, the way, I mean, the fluency and with the deep knowledge of every subject, and we just loved the way you answered all the questions.
You mean even the ones I didn't answer?
Oh, no, you answered everything. I think
Yeah.
you did.
Is
But-
Carl and Karen here?
They're here,
I
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to give
Yeah.
I wanted to give you a little something.
Yeah, but I just want to just make one comment. Okay, this is just on behalf of all of us. You know, one of the greatest entrepreneurs of our times, modern times, that was Henry Ford. And one of the things that Henry Ford said was that, you know, coming together is just the beginning, and staying together is progress, but working together is success.
That's right.
And we certainly would like to work together with you, because what we did over here, we came together, we stayed together, and now we really have to define some projects that we can work together. And just congratulations, and thank you very, very much. And we're so proud that you are representing us, America, okay,
Oh, no,
to the world. Thank you.
Thank you so
Lovely,
much.
yeah. Carol is here. Carol, would you please come up here?
I always like to leave a, you know, I'm learning the courtesies that we as Americans need to always have. There's a little something, Karen, that you can put in your office from us, from the department. Carl, we want to give you and Vish a something which is a little personal for me.
Oh.
Which I'm a Georgia girl, so I'm always out giving out a Georgia peach.
Oh, wow, and this is Valentine color, okay, thank you very much too, yeah.
Sees that red, and you know, a little glass peach. But as I said, we thank Ty and all of you for coming out this evening. There's so many other places that you could be, and so many other things that you could be doing. But we know that as we walk this walk in this new area of engaging states with each other and cities and counties with each other, that we cannot do it alone. And so we welcome your participation and your ideas, and we will be having a number of follow-up activities as we move to our next steps. And we thank you very much
Yeah.
for allowing myself and Rhonda, who is here with me, to be here today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Rhonda, thank you very, very much for really joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a safe flight back home.